supposed to be for purposes of the use. So that's the reasons, among many others, that we saw it is really very necessary that this amendment be brought, at least for the Cabinet Secretary to make decision, or rather make regulations that are very relevant to save the source of water in this country. So it's very important. When you visit or you get the reports from different counties, everywhere there is serious complaint over these spaces because it has become a dangerous trees. And because we can't say it's dangerous trees and they are natural, then the best way is to regulate. Okay. And the Cabinet Secretary cannot regulate without the authority. Yeah. And the authority is within the law. So this one gives that authority or power, the Cabinet Secretary, to regulate this. We are not saying we are doing away with these spaces. No. We are saying it should be regulated within parameters of the law. And that is why this amendment is so necessary. And I am very sure, Honorable Kangoko, where is coming in Elgeyo Marakwet.
I think members
there is a lot of challenge.
There
is a lot of challenge over these same spaces. And that is why we need this amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. I now propose the question that Clause 2 be amended as proposed. And I think I'll give the first chance to speak is Honorable Mayaka, as she was the sponsor of the amendment.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I do agree with the amendment proposed by the Committee of Environment. I think we did deep dive into this matter extensively, and they're right in actually being very specific of where it is we want the regulations to be implemented, and also the fact that they have included in the amendment that we are not only looking at eucalyptus trees species, but we're also looking at any invasive species. So that going forward or in future, if you have any invasive species, then we do not have to come back and amend that particular clause again, that you already have that sufficiently covered. So yes, I do agree with the committee's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. I just want to state that we categorically and comprehensively did with this in second reading, and I just rise to support this because the impact of global warming actually it's affecting our rivers and stuff, and we want to do away with some of these species which are really draining our rivers, and for us to protect the diversity and other environmental issues, I think I support the amendment. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Member for Westlands, Honorable Wanyonyi.
Madam Chair, I also want to support this amendment because, Madam Speaker, we have witnessed this even in our own areas that these trees are very hazardous. They have messed up many our ecosystem, and removing them, Madam Speaker, it will secure our rivers and other areas. There's somebody even who mentioned that these trees have got a bad smell, that the birds don't even stay in these trees because they have a very bad smell. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Honorable Sergon, Member for Baringo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to support this bill amendment, considering that in the world today, environment is becoming a real threat to human species. And for eucalyptus, I remember we sat with my sister colleague through when she was doing this this bill. And most of the people who contributed to this said amendment today gave a very clear information on how this eucalyptus has really affected their livelihoods, specifically in water and river banks. And this way, I want to support and say it's going to be to give a very big difference if we are able to regulate and make it habitable for all of us. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Member for Sirisia. I think you seem to be the last person. Okay.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I also stand to support the removal of eucalyptus tree, Honorable Chair. Many of the rivers in this country, Madam Chair, has tried because the trees takes a lot of water from the soil, from the rivers, and therefore, Madam Speaker, we need to protect the environment of this country. Our president has struggled very much to make sure that we do everything possible to plant many trees to replace the eucalyptus. Therefore, Madam Chair, I support.
Okay, Honorable Gikaria, I think I'd forgotten to...
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I also rise to support this amendment. Honorable Chair, the aspect of rivers and the water catchment areas is very key. And Honorable Speaker, to be honest, if you go around the country and see where the eucalyptus trees are planted along the rivers, actually the rivers are drying up. And it is important for us to give the Cabinet Secretary an opportunity to make a decision through this amendment so that he can be able to. So I totally support. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Okay, Honorable Sunkuli, you'll be the last person. I think everybody has spoken.
Madam Chair, I also support. And I wanted to say, Madam Chair, that the government should do a little more. Because there was a time when the eucalyptus tree was promoted as coming from South Africa, a quick ripening tree. But when those things came, people planted them everywhere, and yet they were not really producing those results. They are very thin eucalyptus trees that do not work in Kenya because most of these are required for power posts and so on. I think that most of our rivers are suffering because of this tree, because the eucalyptus tree, being an indigenous tree of Australia, which was created in order to suck the water because Australia is under the sea, has come to Africa to suck the little water that we have. And I think that this is a very good law. I support.
Okay, thank you, honorable members. I now put the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 2 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Title.
I now propose the question that the title be part of the bill. I now put the question that the title be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 1.
I now propose the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clause 1 be part of the bill. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? Okay, mover. Honorable Irene Mayaka, you're the mover. If you could...
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023. I also request the Honorable Kamren to second the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I second.
Honorable Mayaka, could you... Could you just go back and to the part to move the reporting? Okay, Honorable Mayaka, proceed to take that again.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I beg to move that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Honorable members, I now put the question that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Honorable members, Madam Speaker.
Chairperson, give him the mic, please.
The Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023, and approved the same with amendments.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that this House do agree with the reports of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023, and I also request the Honorable Cameron to second the motion.
Honorable Cameron.
I second, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, I propose the question that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023. I put the question? Okay, honorable members, I now put the question that this House do agree with the report of the Committee of the Whole House on its consideration of the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Third reading. Honorable Mayaka. To move the third reading.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023, be now read a third time, and I also request the Honorable Naomi Wako to second.
Honorable Speaker, I second.
Honorable members, I propose the question that the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023, be now read a third time. The mood of the House, I should put the question. Okay, I'll put the question. I have confirmed that we have the present quorum in the House for purposes of making this decision, I therefore put the question that the Environmental Management and Coordination Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 66 of 2023, be now read a third time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend Environmental Management and Coordination Act and for connected purposes.
Honorable members, before we move to the next order, I wish to recognize the presence of the following school which is seated in the public gallery. The Nairobi Academy from Lang'ata constituency, Nairobi County. On behalf of the House, the substantive Speaker, I welcome you to Parliament. Thank you. So, honorable members, we now move back, like I had earlier indicated, to order number 5 and order number 6 to allow the chairperson for the Budget and Appropriations Committee to lay the paper before the House. Honorable Atandi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, 4th June 2025. Report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2025-2026 and the medium term, and the compendium of departmental committee reports on the consideration of the annual estimates.
Next order, you can read out the next order. We now go to order number 6. Just state it out, order number 6, state notices of motion.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Proceed, Honorable Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Consideration, notice of the motion. Consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2025-2026 and the medium term. That this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure and the medium term for the financial year 2025-2026, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 4th June 2025, and pursuant to provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239, 1, approves the issuance of a sum of Kenya shillings 2,538,293,978,440 from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2026 in respect to the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph 3, Committee of Supply. 2, makes the policy and financial resolutions as contained in the schedule to the report. 3, orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240, that is consideration of estimates in the supply in the Committee of Supply. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. On next order, we are going to order number 10 now.
Next order. Next. Order number 11, motion. Implementation of the universal health coverage and of a policy on mandatory use of public health care facilities by public officers.
Yeah, Honorable Sabina Chege is not present, so we'll skip that. We'll stand it down. So we move to the next order.
Order number 12, the County Government's Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 25 of 2023, second reading.
Honorable Timothy Toroitich is not present. So we'll defer that one also.
Order number 13, the Agriculture Livestock Extension Services Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022, second reading.
The Honorable Dr. John Mutunga is present. I think I'd seen him. Okay, you may proceed to move.
Honourable Speaker, I rise to move that the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Services Bill be now read a second time. Honourable Speaker, this country has gone through a lot of changes, especially in the agricultural sector. Way back in the 1990s and early 2000s, the country was performing extremely well because we had an organized agricultural extension system. The agricultural extension system covers both agriculture and livestock. And in this particular case, we have an evolution of extension services in the country, and the service has been offered by the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Honourable Speaker, in the past, there were mergers of the ministry where we had the Ministry of Agriculture splitting from the Ministry of Livestock Development, and then we had extension harmonized over time. Even then, extension used to work very well. However, later on, the ministry was fully merged, and now we have the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Extension services is part of what is devolved. At the point of devolution, Honourable Speaker, many or most of the extension officers were released to the county governments. Unfortunately, there has not been continuous hiring or progressive hiring of extension staff to replace those that have been retiring or have been going through natural attrition. The last time the government seriously hired extension officers, and I remember this very clearly, was in 1989. That's when we had a complete uptake of all the graduates from both universities and the diploma colleges to extension. After that, the government has been sparingly and merely, replacing those who leave either through retirement or other forms. Honourable Speaker, extension services have gone down considerably in this country. There was the expectation that after devolution, then the county governments will take up extension very, very seriously. Unfortunately, this has not happened. And the reason is that the allocation to agriculture has been dwindling over time. At the national level, the allocation to agriculture has also not been doing very well. Lumped up under the agriculture, rural, and urban development, that sector currently is number 9 in terms of priority. Again, on the other hand, it is a sector which is supporting most of the population, people in this country. It is a sector which has most of what we export out of this country. It is a sector which has the raw materials to our industries. And it is a sector which basically earns as foreign exchange. So it is a sector that is delicate. However, it is majorly private. Extension services are therefore necessary. So this bill comes in to try and reconfigure extension in the present time. The Senate bill, the bill passed through Senate and was brought to us. And Honourable Speaker, as I speak, I am the co-author of this particular, or co-sponsor of this particular bill. The bill has several parts. Part 1 basically deals with the preliminaries. And this is about definitions and other, the objectives of the bill. The key objective of this bill being coming up with a mechanism to reach the farmers with technologies, innovations, and management practices that are generated from our research institutions and also from our universities. Over time, these technologies, innovations, and management practices have not been reaching the farmers in the right time, in time. So it takes a bit of time to have these innovations reaching the farmers. Honourable Speaker, you know that very well that technology transfer is necessary for farmers to improve on productivity, and the fact that Kenya has limitations in terms of land. Where we are left, Honourable Speaker, in terms of arable land, we are left to only improve on productivity. And if we have to improve on productivity, we must take up research findings to try and intensify agricultural production. And this can only be done through extension. Since there are weaknesses in the extension service currently, and since it is not happening as expected under the county management, this bill comes in to try and awaken the consciousness of Kenyans, and especially those who are in the management of the sector, to be able to look into how do we make sure that we have a revival of this particular service. So the first objective of this particular bill is basically to foster coordination and collaboration in extension services, extension service research by national government, county government, non-government organizations, learning institutions, research bodies, and other non-state actors. We are looking at all those who are involved in generating technologies, innovations, and management practices. And this is done by our national research institutions. It could be done by our universities and colleges. It could also be done by what we call CNG centers. CNG centers are the international research organizations like ICIPE, ICRAF, IRRI, which are located in this particular country, and have an objective of generating technologies, innovations, and management practices. And these technologies, innovations, and management practices, which could be focused on specific areas of this particular country, are necessary, therefore, to cause improvement in agricultural productivity. So the other objective is to promote the generation of high income for farmers and traders through increased production and sourcing of competitive materials. Competitive materials, in this particular case, we are looking at inputs. And inputs are in form of seeds or the genetic material when it comes to the livestock. Madam Speaker, these inputs are not, farmers must be appraised where to get the inputs, where to get unadulterated inputs. We have had a problem in this country where input suppliers have been branded once or many times for selling the wrong or non-viable inputs. And that particular loophole needs to be sealed. The only way we can seal such a loophole is to make sure that agricultural extension services are organized in a way that farmers can know exactly where to get the correct information from. Madam Speaker, the bill has also an objective for continuous and sustained research on extension services for the development of the agricultural and livestock industry. Agriculture industry has got to do with crop development, and crop development has to do with getting better seed varieties, getting better, planting materials where we do not use seed. On the other hand, when it comes to livestock, we need to be able to get better breeds of animals. We need fast maturing animals when it comes to those that are destined for beef, and high yielders when it comes to the milk producers, both dairy goats and the dairy animals. This information cannot be generated, cannot be accessed by farmers if there is no organized system of transferring the innovations, the technologies to them through extension service. The fourth objective is for adoption of sector-wide approach to provision of extension services, which enables access to appropriate quality services from the best service providers and attain higher productivity, increased income, and standards of living for Kenyans. We are referring to standards of living for Kenyans because the great majority of Kenyans are edged, or rather they are anchored onto agriculture as their major means of livelihood. On the other hand, they may not be able to know exactly where to get the best extension services. We need to look at an extension service where farmers can be able to access technical information from people who are already proven. Madam Speaker, as a committee, we have been looking at how do we professionalize agricultural extension, and how do we professionalize the agricultural, how do we identify agricultural professionals? This is because the country is treated to an agripreneurs or agricultural practitioners who are mainly investors in as investors in agricultural input supply and also agrochemicals, and they are not necessarily qualified to offer extension. Unfortunately, on our speaker, we do not have a regulatory mechanism that would give us this kind of, we will take care of this particular sector in that respect. So we are also coming up with a bill that will identify and recruit and basically license the agricultural technicians and professionals. In that way, we shall be able to clean the agricultural sector in the sense that we shall know who is the right person to offer extension service or rather to offer advisory services. There are many other bodies that also engage in the sector in offering agricultural extension services. We also need to have a mechanism of cleaning up or approving these bodies to actually offer extension services so that we can be sure that our farmers are getting quality education when it comes to advisory on farming and livestock keeping. The final objective of this particular bill is for the provision of financial support to various players in the extension service. The bill comes up to propose that we need to have a mechanism of fundraising to have the extension service supported, as it were. This bill, on our speaker, goes ahead to separate the issues for the national government and issues for the county government. Those issues that are national government related are basically classified as those to do with research, because research cannot be localized, and research products needs to be transferred to all those who may need them. Those issues to do with international trade, they are also localized at the national level, because in international trading systems, there are agreements. And then these agreements, in agricultural product trading, we have competent authorities that are identified across the different players or different actors or members or parties in a trading system. And these competent authorities are the only ones that can qualify products for human consumption in various other countries in view of the Codex Alimentarius or the international system of identifying or rather qualifying what can be consumed by human beings. On the other hand, there is the issue of capacity building. Capacity building is localized at the national level in the sense that the national government or the ministry at the headquarters is capable of linking up with other institutions across the world to get information, to verify this particular information, and basically also linked with the research system in the country and the education system in the country to be able to pick this information and qualify it. Madam Speaker, this bill also goes further to identify the regulatory functions to be basically domiciled at the national government. On the other hand, the transfer of knowledge and technology at the local level is left to the county government. It is the county government which need to identify what kind of problems the farmers are facing. It is the county government which needs to identify what mechanisms can be used to pass this information to the various farmers. It is the county government which needs to identify the extent to which the farmers are concentrated in various parts of the country, and therefore how they need to be assisted in terms of accessing the information. It is the county government which have been charged with a diagnostic function to identify exactly what it is that farmers are suffering from. So, Madam Speaker, as we discuss this particular bill, one of the things that we need to ask ourselves is the current of issues as captured in this particular bill. We are living in an age where ICT is very key. And if ICT is not fully integrated in this particular bill, then we need to look at how do we make sure that ICT becomes a major function. On the other, a major application. On the other hand, Honorable Speaker, we have many institutions in this country which have been established to support agricultural development. We have the universities, we have the research institutions, national and international. We have the control institutions like the Pest Control Products Board, which basically monitors what kind of products, pesticides come into this particular country. We have the national, the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service and others. And particularly, Honorable Speaker, we have an institution that is called the agricultural information. It's called the Agricultural Information Center. The Agricultural Information Center basically synthesizes information from various sources, from universities, from the research institutions, and it basically passes on this information to Kenyans for consumption by the farmers. This Agricultural Information and Resource Center is one of the facilities that need to be looked into as we try to configure extension in this particular country. So, Mr. Speaker, as we discuss this particular bill in this House, we need to ask ourselves the extent to which these institutions are being linked or they have been identified, how their roles have been linked to supporting the function of extension, and how they will progressively be supported to generate information or to manage this information for purposes of consumption by the farmers. Honourable Speaker, the bill goes further to identify other functions to identify the various players. And each of these players is given a role in this particular respect. Honourable Speaker, as we look at the extension moving forward, we need to ask ourselves, where does Kenya want to go? If we look at the current government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda, 6 out of the 9 priority value chains are in agriculture. These value chains include the beef value chain, the dairy value chain, it includes the leather value chain, as it were. We are also looking at the rice value chain, we are looking at coffee. And out of these value chains, Honourable Speaker, there are targets that have been set. For instance, if we have to improve our coffee production so that we may capture our quota, we must open up more land on coffee, we must intensify coffee production. This cannot be done by smallholder farmers without appropriate information. They need to understand how to test their soils, how to identify what kind of fertilizer that is needed for the soils to produce optimally. They need to understand when to spray for what, for protect their crop from what insects or pests and from what diseases. They need to know how to regulate their functions. And for that to happen, they need to be adequately advised. The only mechanism for advising farmers is through extension service. If there is a function that has been quoted as having failed in this country, it's the country's extension service. Everyone who speaks about extension says they are used to be. They speak in the past tense. They do not say that there is an elaborate or working extension system today. And the reasons are many. One of the reasons, Honourable Speaker, is that after the transition, after the implementation of the Constitution 2010, the creation of the county government and the devolution of agriculture functions, some of the functions, then the inheritance of the old staff, who have also developed themselves to an extent that a greater majority of them have moved from the certificate holding to diploma, to degree, even to masters, and so on. So they are not probably available to offer local level extension services. In the past, extension was organized in such a way that a certificate fellow would sit at the unit. The country was divided into agricultural extension units. So a certificate fellow would sit at the unit. At the locational level, there would be probably a diploma holder who would be coordinating these certificate fellows. And then at the the district level, there used to be an extension advisor or extension officer who therefore coordinates the entire district activities. That used to work very well because information was flowing to and fro, and farmers were getting advisory services. Today, farmers are on their own. And this bill comes to emphasize that farmers need to be refocused. We need to revisit advising the farmers. It is not possible for farmers to produce better. It is not possible for farmers to produce optimally. It is not possible for farmers to intensify productivity without advisory services. Not all farmers are enlightened. We may, to a large extent, say that our farmers have gone to school, but, Honourable Speaker, schooling is different from having advice-specific, a theme advisory. So in this particular respect, this bill comes in to try and reinvigorate the extension service. Madam Speaker, the final part of this particular bill basically speaks to the coordination mechanism. I mean, the financing mechanism, sorry. The financing mechanism that is proposed in this particular bill is such that we will have some support from the government to the extension service itself. And then there is proposal to create some fund. This particular fund is supposed to be used to run the extension services. Honourable Speaker, we know it is not easy to create funds. And for a system that is not generating any levy, we may not be able to create funds. But it is possible for us to levy extension services. And we cannot move into levying extension services just overnight. We need to be better organized. We know several services within the agricultural sector were commercialized without due preparation of the farmers. And I have in mind a service like the tick control system, where you used to have dips, where we could take our animals, throw them into the dip, and then, the government will supply their carries under the management of the dips, and we would be able to keep the ticks away from the animals. We also know that clinical services were commercialized without due preparation of the farmers. So that's another issue that we need to be careful about. If we have to move the direction of commercializing extension service, caution needs to be taken so that we are careful to manage this particular process and to manage the transition as it were. Farmers must see value in what we will be proposing. So this particular bill comes in to try and seek more support from the government. Honourable Speaker, there is the creation of an institution which would manage the extension service in the country. And this institution is charged with the responsibility of regulating extension, of cross-checking the performance, the effectiveness, and the efficiency of the function across the country, and trying to find out whether farmers have been able to get the information. This particular institution is also charged with the responsibility of identifying the sources of new information for the farmers, trying to create some mechanism for packaging or simplifying this particular innovation, technologies, and management practices so that farmers, they can be farmer-friendly, as well as enabling the continuous flow of information. That particular function, Honourable Speaker, may be, it is necessary for farmers to be able to get information. There must be a feedback mechanism, as it were, because unless farmers are able to say exactly what they want, and unless the extension is demand-driven, then we will be doing too much of supply. And supply does not necessarily mean that farmers will always consume whatever they are given. So we must make extension also demand-driven, in the sense that farmers will have to say, this is what we want. Therefore, the mechanism that we come up with must be efficient in identifying information that is relevant to the farmers as per their needs and relaying this information in record time. So the effectiveness of this particular function, as proposed in this particular bill, will be determined by the extent to which we polish this particular process. Honourable Speaker, the bill basically comes in to revive this particular function. And the county governments are held to account when it comes to extension, as much as the national government is also held to account. Regulatory institutions have also been identified as sources of support in terms of getting appropriate extension. And extension does not only mean extension to the farmers, extension means informing the entire sector, in the sense that we need to be clearly aware of what is happening at every given time. We can be able to know the pricing regimes of various products. We can be able to know the variations in terms of regions. We can be able to know how the prices are changing so that farmers may also be better informed to target specific markets within the country and even outside the country. So, Honourable Speaker, with those very few remarks, I wish to move that this particular bill be I wish to move that this bill be read a second time. And I would like to request the Honorable Millie to second. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Okay, before Honorable Millie seconds, I wish to recognize the presence of the following school, which is seated in the Speaker's Gallery. South Tetu Girls High School from Mukurweni constituency, Nyeri County. And Honorable Millie, as you second, maybe you can welcome them on our behalf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And Madam Speaker, before I second, I wish to just welcome the students who have come to Parliament today and really indicate to them that it is such a privilege. They may not realize it. Not many students are able to come into this house. And when you come here, please remember that some of us were once upon a time your age, and once upon a time aspired to be where we are today, and it is possible with a focused mind to one day get here. So please, if there's anything you come out of here, come out believing in yourself and the possibilities that you want. You can be anything, not only a politician, but an engineer. So on behalf of Parliament, we do welcome you to the Parliament of Kenya. Madam Speaker, even as I stand to second this bill, I want to congratulate the chair for bringing this bill. And Madam Speaker, I'll be very brief. I know that in this country we have, under the new Constitution 2010, we have a devolved system of governance that has put a lot of mandate on our counties on the issues of agriculture and health. Madam Speaker, before there were very good extension services under our previous government, not previous government, the previous governance structure. But for some reason, maybe because of teething issues, even though it's taking a bit long, you find that extension services in most of our counties have actually collapsed. And because of that, you can see, even though we are a very agriculturally rich country, you find that our output has gone completely low, and yet we can be food sufficient. We can actually even export our food, but because of not putting a lot of energy on that, it has actually compromised. Madam Speaker, I wish to therefore say that it will be very important that we refocus on those extension services, and Madam Speaker, even putting a lot of effort on capacity building, and Madam Speaker, and ensuring that devolution actually works at all levels, even to the village level. Madam Speaker, right now, if you look at our farmers, many of them are struggling on their own. Madam Speaker, I don't want to speak much because I know there are many members who wish to contribute to this bill. And Madam Speaker, if there is anything else that is remaining, I will bring by way of any proposed amendments. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I congratulate the chair and do second. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that the the Agriculture and Livestock Extension Services Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022, be read a second time. Members who want to contribute to this debate, kindly put the intervention button.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I arise to support this bill. Madam Speaker, for a long time when we are growing up, we used to see agricultural extension officers. We used to see them advising farmers on the best farming practices, how to prepare the fields for planting, how to prepare even the animals on various stages of growth. Madam Speaker, our economy relies entirely on agriculture. To be very specific, Madam Speaker, we do export coffee, tea, and now we are exporting livestock products. Madam Speaker, our farmers for a long time have been left alone after they withdrew of many of these extension officers. Madam Speaker, farmers need education on best practices on agriculture. Madam Speaker, agriculture is the main source of income for our people in this country. Madam Speaker, we need to ensure that agriculture and livestock sustains itself because of the great role it plays in the economy of this country. Madam Speaker, after the devolution, there is a division of responsibilities with the national government taking up the responsibility of the policy. And then the county government takes up the implementation. This bill, Madam Speaker, is establishing a clear relationship on how the national government will operate and coordinate with the county government. Madam Speaker, our farmers now are particularly when there's a lot of change in the climate, areas that were very productive, areas that were not productive, but they are turning to become very important areas of agricultural production. Our farmers need training. Our farmers need education. Madam Speaker, if we leave our farmers behind with the changes in the climate, the soil conditions are changing. Madam Speaker, we need to start educating our farmers on the best farming practices. And therefore, the responsibility and the importance of the agricultural extension officers is very important. Madam Speaker, everywhere in the world right now, farming requires advanced technologies. We have seen best practices linking up the farmers with the best technologies to enable them do the best farming. Now, these extension officers, Madam Speaker, will play a very great role in ensuring that there is the transfer of technology because they have the capacity of learning and disseminating the knowledge on technology transfer. Madam Speaker, the extension officers play a very great role in linking our farmers to various farm inputs and markets. Madam Speaker, we have seen many young people and our gracious women requiring a lot of empowerment in farming. Madam Speaker, these people, they are asking for farm input. Madam Speaker, they are asking for market. There's nobody to advise them on what to do and where to go. I believe with the extension officers, the farmers will be able to get all this knowledge and be able to execute their responsibilities as farmers. Madam Speaker, we need to collect a lot of data. Madam Speaker, you remember you brought a matter here in this parliament on cancer, which is associated with a lot of chemicals that are being used in the farms in the rural areas. Madam Speaker, there's nobody who is focused to know what kind of information, what kind of problems that farmers are facing, what kind of chemicals are being used for a particular area. So we believe if the agricultural extension officers are there, they will be able to collect vital information on the soil textures, on the area that are affected mainly with a lot of diseases associated with chemicals that are being used. We believe that agricultural extension officers will be able to collect information on the changing trends on agriculture for specific areas. Madam Speaker, it's very important that, particularly now that we are encouraging our young people in the rural areas to form cooperatives and to form groups, self-help groups. I believe the agricultural extension officers are better placed to assist these farmers form these groups. These groups are now left to the members of parliament. And these are very technical areas. These are the people who can sit down with the farmers, tell them what kind of groups they need to form and where to go and where to register. They are not only confined to the actual agriculture. They also confined in offering social information to our farmers. So, Madam Speaker, this is a very important bill. It needs to be implemented passed and implemented as quickly as possible. And we need to set funds as a National Assembly. We need to appropriate funds because the government has set the policy. We need to appropriate funds so that it can go towards the recruitment of these extension officers. We have so many graduates out there who have gone for certificate, who have gone for diploma, who have gone for bachelor in extension services, specifically on agriculture and livestock. So, Madam Speaker, it is very, very vital that we really pass this bill because it is going to give direction as to the direction of agricultural policy in this country. Madam Speaker, I support.
Member for Kilgoris, Honorable Sunkuli.
Madam Speaker, I also beg to support. The chairman who has moved this motion has actually done a good job. He has said everything that needs to be said.
Honorable Sunkuli, allow me to interrupt you. Let me recognize the presence of these schools so that you can also welcome them, because they might have to leave before we do. So I wish to recognize the students sitting in the public gallery. One set from Koile Boys High School, Kajiado constituency, Kajiado Central Constituency, Kajiado County. Greenview School from Kasarani constituency, Nairobi County. Saptet Junior School from Karusoi North constituency, Nakuru County. So Honorable Sunkuli, you'll welcome them as you contribute to the debate. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to welcome all the students who have come from different parts of Kenya. And it's good that they have all met together to see that this is the National Assembly of the Republic of Kenya. From the onset, you would learn that you need to interact with the rest of Kenya. And welcome to the National Assembly, where in future, many of you will look into either as members or as voters, as the house that will make a difference in your life. So I wish to say welcome. And for those students from Kajiado, on behalf of the member of Kajiado Central, I wish to say to you, Karibuni. And Madam Speaker, as I was saying, this is a very important motion. This is a very important bill, actually, that has been brought by the Senate and into this House by the chairman. And Madam Speaker, I grew up, my father was an extension officer. And those were the days when extension had a meaning. Now, when devolution came, we have now devolved the function of agriculture to the county governments. And apparently, this function is not very attractive to the county governments. They do not treat it as top priority. This notwithstanding the fact that in reality, every county has a budget for agriculture, budget line for agriculture. One thing that they have totally omitted to do is to recruit extension officers. And I wonder, Madam Speaker, from the point of view of the national government, if the county government is not recruiting extension officers, and we are allowing our universities and our colleges to teach agriculture, are we not misleading the young people to go for courses where nobody will employ them? We have many people in our constituency with certificates, with diplomas, with degrees on agriculture. But they cannot be employed by the national government because that function is devolved. Yet the county governments have said that they have not shown any indication that they are going to employ these students. I think it is important to tell those colleges that are teaching agriculture that they must reduce the ratio of students they are teaching, because the number of students they are churning out who ought to be extension officers cannot be accommodated in the country, because the policy of recruitment in the county governments is wrong. And Madam Speaker, I always decry the Egerton University, which is our top agriculture university, and the way it is not coming up to standards nowadays, in fact, it is considered to be one of those universities that are going down the drain. Yet we say in this country that agriculture is important. If our premier university of that trains agricultural officers is not doing a good job, where in future, when we decide to recruit these people, are we going to get the real experts? Yes, Rift Valley Institute of Science and Technology and other colleges of its kind are training people with certificates and degrees, and diplomas. But what about the people who actually have a global knowledge of agriculture? If the University of Egerton cannot train them, where are we going to have them trained? Madam Speaker, the need for extension officers has become even more important. You see, before, the growing of coffee was a matter for the Mount Kenya region, either from Embu, Meru, and Kiambu. Even Kiambu was a major coffee area. Today, because of the attraction of real estate, Kiambu is no longer a very strong coffee area. Instead, if you come to areas like Kilgoris, like Kitale, like some parts of Uasin Gishu, those are the new areas of coffee growing. But the people of that area do not have an inherited knowledge of how to grow coffee. So if we do not have these people, extension officers, going to the new areas where new crops are growing, who will teach the farmers of that area how to grow those crops? We have been very good people in keeping our cattle in the areas of the Maasai. But, Madam Speaker, the shrinking areas of land have made it necessary that we do more scientific ways of breeding cows. If we do not have extension officers, who is going to train the people how to improve their breeds? It is so important that because of the shifting nature of our economics, that we have people who are experts to train our people. There are many, many areas. Today, my own place in Transmara, apart from accepting the coffee plant, is majorly sugarcane. But where are the extension officers to come and help to train these people? Madam Speaker, in many, many areas of our pastoralist communities, the only doctors you get to inject your cows is the owner of the cow. You just know, we all know, everybody must know that if you want to inject a cow, you just apply 10 cc's of penicillin or terramycin or something of that kind. But there is this self-medication, if I may use the term, of our own cows by people who have not been trained, but who believe they have the knowledge, even if the knowledge is very old, is the only thing we have. So farmers are on their own. There is nobody there out there to help them. So, Madam Speaker, it is important that even as we keep singing this song about devolution, because I know it is in fashion to say devolution is very good, but in some areas it is costing us. And we must tell the governors, are you ready to do this agriculture thing, or you bring it back to the center? Because if you are not doing it, and the center cannot be allowed to do it, so who is going to do it? We cannot afford anymore to give lip service to our agriculture. We have to say that agriculture is important, and we have to put our money where our mouth is. Because we cannot keep saying that, yes, we are an agricultural country, yet in fact we are not putting money and skills and everything that we need there. Madam Speaker, I beg to support.
The Honourable Member for Moibet, Honourable Phyllis Parto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also contribute to this bill on the agricultural extension services. And I want to thank the Chair, Departmental Committee for Agriculture, for bringing this very important bill to Parliament. Madam Speaker, once upon a time, before IMF brought the structural adjustment programs, extension services were very vibrant in our communities, particularly in Uasin Gishu. And with time, such services diminished until it has reached a time when we really don't know, we no longer have such services. Madam Speaker, agriculture is a very important aspect in our societies. It is the backbone of our country, especially where I come from, Uasin Gishu. We are majorly farmers, and this bill is going to be very important for us because agriculture, it is the only thing which the country can depend now that we have cases of unemployment. We have young people who just go to school, they graduate, they are at home, they don't access employment, yet we have vast land in Kenya. So that is an area which needs to be resourced, needs to be established, needs capacity, so that we can at least get people going to the farms, get people get quality from agriculture, and even we can depend on it for exporting and get for international exchange, and it can boost the economy of our country. Madam Speaker, we have institutions of higher learning which premier in research. Case in point, Madam Speaker, is Egerton University. I know, and because I was once upon a time teaching in that institution, we have a lot of research which has been done in agriculture, and we have credible professors, and I can quote a few, I can name a few, like Professor Kai, Professor Bebe, Professor Kimusto, who have pioneered in doing research in agriculture, and they've generated a lot of knowledge, and they've transferred that knowledge to young people. But Madam Speaker, there is a disconnect between the knowledge and the farmer. So eventually that information is just left in libraries, in archives, and maybe in publications as just theoretical papers, but nobody has translated that information to transform livelihoods, to transform our farms, to transform our farmers. So, Madam Speaker, I think this bill, if it is given the right, if it is given the justice it deserves, I'm sure we can see some transformation. I'm a product of agriculture myself. I went to school through schooling because my parents were purely farmers. And we used to see people going around, getting information, giving advices to our parents, advising them on the best practices, advising them on what type of breeds of animals to keep, advising them on when there is a looming disease in the community, and they would prepare them. But unfortunately, those services kept on dwindling, and now I realize that it seems the government has not been employing extension services to extension experts to go and advise the farmers. So the farmers are being left at the mercy of quacks who masquerade as extension officers, and they charge them very exorbitant prices. And I believe this bill is going to cure such problems in our society, so that we can get the best experts who are trained, who have the knowledge, who have the capacity, who can go and train the farmers in the language they understand. Because it's not that all farmers are educated. If we get extension officers from different communities, they can train farmers. Because like now, the Ministry of Agriculture is encouraging farmers, like in my community, to do all sorts of, to plant all sorts of crops, to keep all sorts of animals, but without the relevant knowledge, without the necessary knowledge to go about it. Like they are just sending seedlings, coffee seedlings. They are sending avocado seedlings. They are sending different breeds. They are sending. I mean, these farmers are just at the receiving end. They are always encouraged, and even we politicians, when we go there, we encourage them to diversify and plant different varieties of seeds, but from a layman's perspective. So I'm sure we are heading on the right direction because now we will be able to get experts who are not just going to the field to train them, but mentor them and build capacity. And with time, agriculture will make meaningful, will transform our societies in a meaningful way. I also like the idea that in this bill, licenses will be given to the extension officers. They will be vetted, they will be licensed so that they can, whenever they go to the field, they have something to show that they are licensed officers to train the farmers, so that we do away with the case I said earlier about masqueraders who visit homes and they put on uniform and they are experts in everything. They can talk about everything, and we are not sure whether they have that capacity or they went to any training or they have any know-how of whatever they are professing. So, Mr. Speaker, I think I support this bill, and I look forward to a time when our farmers will be able to get support, they get knowledge, they get capacity. I even read that in the bill they will be well-resourced and given, they are given loans to carry out the farming practices. So I think it is a move in the right direction. And Kenya being an agricultural country, we can be able to take up agriculture and improve our GDP. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well said, honorable members. Join me in recognizing and welcoming students from Mount Kenya State Road, Kieni constituency, Nyeri County. They are seated at the Speaker's Gallery, and students from St. Benedict's, Mamutitu, Mukurweini constituency, Nyeri County. They are also seated in the Speaker's Gallery. And they are students from Tasia School, Embakasi East, Nairobi County. They are seated in the public gallery. They are welcome to follow proceedings this morning, and hope their visit here helps widen their scope and mind in terms of what they're doing in school these days. Thank you. The next would be the member for Tetu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, before I talk about the bill before us, allow me to join you in warmly welcoming the students from Kieni constituency and the students from Mukurweini constituency. Those are my neighbors. And on behalf of the Honorable MP Kagusha and the Honorable MP Wainaina, who I know are not here, I warmly welcome them to the House of Parliament and ask them to work hard, and hopefully a few of them will be able to come to this house one day. That said, Mr. Speaker, allow me to lend my voice in support of the Agriculture Extension Services Bill. And Mr. Speaker, let me say that growing up in rural Kenya in the 80s and the 90s, I think we all witnessed the transformative power of agriculture. Most of us were educated by proceeds of coffee and tea and other crops, and that is when there was money in farming. And one of the catalysts then, Mr. Speaker, was the presence of these agriculture extension officers. But over the years, Mr. Speaker, we have seen a very systematic collapse of these services. And the final nail on the coffin came in 2012, I believe, when we finally devolved agriculture. And I have said in this house before, it is sad that a lot of the good things that were devolved died on the floor, of the counties. Mr. Speaker, agriculture, despite being about 33% of our GDP, contributes nearly 70% in terms of employment and support for rural livelihoods. And yesterday I came out through a very interesting chart, which was comparing crop production between Kenya and Tanzania, and the comparison years was 1961 and 2023. And Mr. Speaker, you realize on maize, I think in 1961, we were producing upwards of 1 million metric tons of maize, and Tanzania was only doing about 300,000. Today, we are at about 3 million. Tanzania is at about 6 million. And that is why we have become a net importer of Tanzanian maize. The same goes to rice, the same goes to beans, and the same goes to very many other crops. And as much as we may have beef currently with Tanzania, Mr. Speaker, we'll have to admit that when they tell us sarcastically in Swahili, jirani hana chakula, jirani hata chakula hana, they really mean it. Because over time, we have let the agriculture sector down. Mr. Speaker, the challenge we have in this country is productivity. And as large sizes shrink, as the vagaries of climate change affect us, as we deal with all the challenges that we have, productivity continues to go down. And we have to make interventions to ensure that our farmers can be able to produce more on the small pieces of land that they have. And this calls for improved husbandry methods, better seeds, better use of pesticides, better use of fertilizers, and disease control. And Mr. Speaker, this is the role that the agriculture extension officers played. And since we took this to county, and I must admit, Mr. Speaker, I happen to have a sister who is an agriculture extension officer. And she gives me horrendous stories of how sometimes she is in the office for a month or two, never having gone to the field, because the county she works for cannot give her any means of transport, and there are no tools to even go and help farmers yet out there. Yet she is in an agriculturally rich county. So, Mr. Speaker, we must start introspecting what we need to do about this problem. And I'm happy the bill before us to revitalize this is actually a very timely bill. But I'm not a very strong believer that every problem in this country will be solved by government. Actually, government is fairly poor at solving problems. Government is good at policy. Government is good at creating an enabling environment. And if we look at what has happened to counties, this problem was handed over to them. They were given staff. But because of the challenges that we have in the counties, especially challenges to do with corruption, because Mr. Speaker, I've said in this house that the only thing we seem to have 100% successfully devolved has been corruption. Because of the problems we have to start introspecting whether we need to now create a framework for professional services. Today, Mr. Speaker, in the rural areas, even when there is no medicine in the local clinic, you can go to some private doctor somewhere. So how do we also ensure that farmers who are able to support this can have at least commercialized extension services? If you look at all the big horticulture companies, especially the ones that operate in parts of the Rift Valley and Mount Kenya, they are actually running their own extension services. They have officers going out there advising farmers and telling them what to do to ensure that they get better productivity for their crops. So how can we ensure that we come up with a model where we can be able to certify, where we can be able to register, and where we can be able to regulate
commercial extension officers who can be able, and they can even be community-based, the same way we have CHPs. They can be, small professionals, community-based, and they can be able to go and maybe even do a crop share or even do some sort of a milk share, product share with the farmers, so that if they can help the farmers, say, improve their productivity from, say, 10 liters per cow to 20 liters, maybe they are allowed to take 2 liters a day, so that farmers can be able to pay for improved productivity. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll say that this bill is timely. We need to ensure that we do not leave this entirely to government. We need to ensure that this sector is very well regulated, because as we speak, we will continue to complain about reduced productivity. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I have always longed for the day, because we have this fund called CDF, but because of devolution, very clear boundaries were built. For example, today, I see a lot of opportunities to educate my farmers. I see a lot of opportunities to do some little interventions in water, in irrigation, in agriculture, in health. But because of the limitations of the CDF, I am not able to do this. How can we maybe in future, Mr. Speaker, maybe even allow a 2% or even a 1% of CDF to go into things like farmer education? Because governors have failed to do this. Yet MPs, members of parliament, have shown very good utilization of CDF in matters education, in matters security, in matters environment. How can we extend our scope just a little bit to be able to meet some of those needs? So, Mr. Speaker, this is, I know is theoretical, but I rise to support this bill, and I think it is very, very important that we get our farmers back to productivity in this country. Thank you.
Well said. Could I be here from the member for Kirinyaga?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Geshimo. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this bill. Honorable Speaker, while agriculture is at a transformational crossroads, it is unfortunate that we seem to be progressing in some ways and retrogressing in others. Honorable Speaker, the role of agricultural extension officers is very crucial. Oftentimes we have asked ourselves how we can engage young people to ensure that we close the generational gap in terms of engagement in regard to farming. Agriculture contributes to around 20% of our GDP, forming a critical sector in the Kenyan economy and employing over 40% of the general populace. It is therefore very important that we are intentional about addressing the key concerns of climate change and food insecurity in Kenya. Honorable Speaker, in the advent of artificial intelligence, with a click of a phone, you can take a photo of a plant that is ailing, and an application can tell you the analysis of what you need for that crop. Therefore, as we speak about agricultural extension officers, let us embody embracing technology and artificial intelligence, ensuring that we give critical support to our farmers so that they can be able to maximize output. Honorable Speaker, we have applications like Tumaini, a Kenyan application, local application by our young people who have acquired the proper knowledge. But unfortunately, because since we devolved agriculture, there is no implementation of the agricultural extension officers. Those brains oftentimes go to waste. Honorable Speaker, it will also be an opportunity to create employment We know that at this instance, universities continue to offer these courses. But then there's no market absorption for the same because implementation is lacking. Honorable Speaker, the transformation that will be brought by activating agricultural extension officers and ensuring that we now take advantage of social media, of artificial intelligence, will be transformative and will ensure that as a country we have food security. Honorable Speaker, you know, quite a number of members have said that we are beneficiaries of agriculture. We are here because our parents were primarily farmers, and the proceeds they got from farming are what took us through school. What can we say of the next generation, Honorable Speaker, when we have a high population that is learned, but that cannot be absorbed by the market, Honorable Speaker? And we all know the state of the economy in terms of creation of employment opportunities. Honorable Speaker, these agricultural extension officers will help subsidize the cost of production. They will also help in analyzing climate change issues, advising farmers on crop adaptation. Some areas now, what we used to farm back in the day when we were being brought up, can no longer be sustained because of climate change, because perhaps of the change in components, of ingredients that are vital to support certain crops due to maybe soil pollution. We have often complained about the misuse or use of harmful pesticides or farmhand inputs that are increasing diseases like cancer, where you find that in a certain area, a locality that is in the village, the prevalence of certain types of cancers are so high, and scientific data has been availed to say that this is as a result of the use of harmful pesticides. When we take advantage of collating scientific data, developing applications, and farmers in the village, even my mother now, who is 60-something years, has a smartphone. These farmers can get critical information that is timely, information that has been analyzed. Because with AI, once you feed information to an application, the analysis is done by the application and you receive advice that is scientifically viable. It is therefore important that we expedite this bill, that we improve on this bill to ensure that it embodies the component of artificial intelligence so that we can also involve our young people in farming. We can take advantage of the knowledge that they have, given the advantage that they have grown up in the era of social media, where Facebook groups are now even created purposely for farming. So farmers can share reviews, they can share their concerns, they can exchange information, and this has made it easier for us. So we must also tap into that for the benefit of our farmers. Honorable Speaker, as I wind up, these agricultural extension officers will also be able to advise farmers on market expectations so that we have a buyer versus supplier balance. I therefore support this bill, and I urge members to also contribute to enhance it at the proper stage. I'll be giving my contributions in regard to the same. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Thank you, and well said. Join me in welcoming students from the Honorable Adan. There are 4 people before you, and I'll give them, then I'll give you. So just relax. We have students up there in the Speaker's Gallery from Kajiado High School. Kajiado High School is in Kajiado Central, Kajiado County. Please join me in welcoming them. And we have students seated in the public gallery from Bavuni Secondary School, Nakuru North Constituency, Nakuru County. They all come to follow proceedings this morning. The next to contribute to this is the Honorable Makali Mulu of Kitui Central.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I appreciate the time you've given me to join my colleagues in supporting this important bill, the Agricultural Extension Bill, Extension Officers Bill. Honorable Speaker, when we were young and joined secondary school, any teacher who came to our class would say, agriculture is the main bone of our economy. And those are the days when crops like coffee, crops like tea, crops like varethrum were contributing seriously to this economy in terms of economic growth and also in terms of foreign exchange earner. Honorable Speaker, over time, we have seen this important sector continue declining in terms of its contribution to the GDP of this country. But, Honorable Speaker, you realize that if you did an analysis of economic growth in this country and sectoral growth of some of these sectors, you find that, Honorable Speaker, anytime agriculture has done well in this economy, the economic growth of the country goes up, which means agriculture is like the main driver to our economic growth. And that being the case, Honorable Speaker, then it means that it is important we do what it takes to support this sector. Honorable Speaker, the extension officers, when I was young, my mom, despite being illiterate, she was a very good farmer. And up to now, she does serious farming at her age. She's about 87. And Honorable Speaker, I would see these agricultural extension officers coming to our farm. Those days, he used to go carrying some wood and, to measure the terraces and all that. And anytime you saw them, you could see value addition to the work of the farmer. And those are the old days, Honorable Speaker. These days, to get an extension officer, you have to go looking for them. Why are we looking for extension officers? Because over time, the government stopped recruiting them. And to make things worse, Honorable Speaker, the governors have even not recruited them. And the few who are there are demotivated. They are not supported with allowances to go to the field. They are never given cars. They are never given even bicycles. They are not even given motorcycles. The old days, they would come with bicycles. So, Honorable Speaker, when I look at this bill is the way Kenya should be going in terms of the right direction. And, Honorable Speaker, we all know agriculture is devolved. And we do support devolution. But, Honorable Speaker, I think it is important to realize that agriculture can never do well if we don't have extension officers. It can never do well. Because this is the link between technology and the farmer. These are the people who know which pesticides and which drugs you need to treat for the farmers' crops. They are the people who know what is the latest technology in town so that farmers can improve their productivity, which has just been mentioned. But when they are not there, then we leave farmers on their own. And I know, Honorable Speaker, I think it is important. I don't know whether we have a capacity to say that whatever budget goes to the governor's office or to the counties, that a specific percentage be set aside for the extension officers. In that case, then, Honorable Speaker, will ensure that we have extension officers in this country, and more so in areas which are agriculture-rich areas, where agriculture does very well. The same case would also apply, Honorable Speaker, in areas where livestock does well, like Northeastern, like our region, the Ukambani region, where we can do very well in terms of keeping cows, keeping goats, and all those other related livestock animals, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, what I'm saying short is, I think this bill, being a Senate bill, and being introduced in this House by Honorable Mutunga, is the right bill, but even the timing, I think we're actually late. It should have come many, many, many years ago, maybe when we started devolution, so that we get these important officers in the field. And if we do that, Honorable Speaker, we'll be helping this country. But now, coming to the extension of, I think there are a few things, Honorable Speaker, we need to get right. In terms of training, during our days, Honorable Speaker, used to hear Bukura Agricultural Institute, we used to have Ukambani Agricultural Institute, we used to have Embu Agricultural Institute. Those were the middle level institutes, training diploma level. And then we used to have our own campus, Kabete campus, which used to train at the degree level. And you realize over time, we have almost killed all the diploma level colleges. Now we are remaining the degrees. So, and I think really, there's no way we would have graduates visiting all these farmers because they would feel they are a bit senior. I think still we need to come up with that procedure where we have the middle level institutions like Okai, the Bukura of this world, so that they can provide the middle level personnel who would be able to visit the farmers. And by doing that, we will get it right. So in terms of training, we need to get it right. The other area we need to get right, Honorable Speaker, is we need to get it right in terms of facilitation. Facilitation in terms of transport. It is now easier. Motorcycles have become very cheap to procure, Honorable Speaker. If we provided them with motorcycles, the way we have done with the chiefs, then they can be able to penetrate those remote areas of this country and support our farmers so that we grow this economy. The other thing we must do, Honorable Speaker, is there must be provision of allowances. You can call them lunch allowance, you can call them travel allowance, but there must be provision of allowances so that even as the county government's budget, they make provision for so that when they go to the field, they are able then to do their work without really complaining that we don't have lunch allowances, we don't have fuel and all those things. So, Honorable Speaker, I really want to support this bill and say that I urge other colleagues that we support this bill. And my wish would be if we can actually have it fast-tracked. We have seen, Honorable Speaker, bills being fast-tracked in this House so that they become acts of parliament. If we can fast-track this bill so that it becomes an act of parliament, we will be helping this country and this economy, more so in terms of growth, because agriculture still remains our mainstay of our economy, and agriculture still remains the hugest contributor to our economic growth. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support. Thank you so much.
Member for Seme.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this bill because, Mr. Speaker, this bill addresses the biggest gap in our agricultural industry. The extension workers are actually the feet with which the industry moves. Whatever policies, whatever strategies we put for improving agriculture, the only level or the only cadre that can take them to the ground where work actually occurs are the extension workers. Mr. Speaker, somebody has said the extension workers are actually the link between science and agriculture. Whether you have new technology, whether you have new farm inputs, whatever you have, it will not reach the farmers unless we have the extension workers. And therefore, it is only them that will improve the productivity, will improve the agronomy, will improve the value chain. Whatever we do, those are the people that we need. I therefore support this bill, Mr. Speaker, because it does what is most important when we want to actually make change, which is create a structure. So this bill actually creates a structure. If you look at the objects, it actually creates a national and county agricultural extension services strategy. So that actually gives the policy, we'll put down the policy, the strategies want to do, they'll be in place. So at least there's somebody now who will be expected and have the responsibility of doing that. So Speaker, it then creates the board. Again, this is important, but the proposal is here, and I want to say something about this board. The composition of the board, to a large extent, is appropriate, with 3 members appointed by the Council of Governors. And whereas I support that, I think that at least the 2 of them that are experts should have direct link, and we should put it in the Act, direct link. For example, if you have the CECs, the CECs or the ministers, as they call at that level, who are appointed from the counties through the Council of Governors. If we just have an expert who is appointed by the Council of Governors as a pure expert, again they will actually lose track as why they are in that board. And again, what I've seen about the functions of the board, the board is advising the minister. If you look at all its functions, its focus is the minister. And remember, the minister is at the national level. So I think in that area, we should really look that the board should not see itself to a large extent as actually a hand of the minister, but should see itself as an entity that is serving the county government as well as the national government. So, Speaker, again, this bill brings out the role of county governments. And one of the important roles that I noticed, Mr. Speaker, is the recruitment of extension service officers. These are actually the people, and it is right that actually they're recruited by the county government. But if you look at the whole extension, as we have put it in the bill, if you're not careful, we may have actually some kind of conflict between the national government and the county government, because this looks clearly as a national government entity. And the relationship we have had with the national government and the county government, unfortunately, has been adversarial, so that it may not work very well. So that's an area we should look at. And these employees, they are county employees, but you're getting that their employment is being kind of initiated or advised from the board, which looks like a national function. I think that is extremely important. And again, if you look at the finances that are there, this board is solely financed, not solely, but financed mainly from Parliament. And that means, again, it is a national function. So boards, all institutions will tend to be loyal to where their finances come from. And therefore, we have to look at other ways of financing that makes this board feel that its main function, it will only be felt if the extension workers are actually available and functioning at the county level. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill, but I think we have to look at the issue of the relationship between this board, the national government, the county governments, so that there is free flow of information and function. You know, just to take an example, look at the UHC workers that we are having here. They were recruited by the public service. Now they are all at the Ministry of Health, but they are working at the counties. So now when we have a problem, we really are not sure who should do what. So I support the bill, I support the structures, but the proposer is here, the co-sponsor is here, and I think we should look at that relationship very, very well. We'll also put some amendments, if necessary, when we come to the third reading. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well said. Member for Elders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this bill is a timely bill. Timely because it brings about a serious definitional clarity on the meaning of agriculture and livestock. I can see my good friend, my elder brother here, the Honorable Aaron Haji, who is a professional product of livestock service, livestock extension service, actually not only in the northern Kenya region, but in the entire country, actually a pioneer. The Speaker, over the years, as a country, we have had so many missed opportunities. On the face of it, Mr. Speaker, if you just sit down and reflect, we have a country. Our number one agenda is food security. Food security has a definition. The World Food Program in 1996, in the summit of 1996, defined food security as the means all people at all times have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for active and healthy life. Is that what we have been doing? Is that what we do? It isn't. Mr. Speaker, this bill, I must congratulate the author, the supporters, and those colleagues in the Senate who have attempted to look at this bill. We ought to have had this bill a long time ago. Mr. Speaker, some of the components the bill attempts to do is to help the farmers in assessing knowledge, in getting information, and getting serious technological transfers, because farming has been modernized. It's not like the old days, Mr. Speaker, where we used to have archaic, Mr. Speaker, farming methods that didn't add a lot of value to the well-being of the ordinary farmer. Mr. Speaker, this bill also attempts to enhance and modernize some of our agricultural practices. The bill, Mr. Speaker, enhances and attempts to bring about issues that can enhance economic productivity. Mr. Speaker, the bill also provides avenue for training. The bill also attempts, Mr. Speaker, to bring support market linkages, Mr. Speaker, that will also bring about sustainability. Mr. Speaker, when you were in school, we used to get access to the 4K clubs. We used to be encouraged to join the agricultural market organization, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, today, if you ask the ordinary farmer, the kind of things that they do and what they're expected to do are completely different. Mr. Speaker, for those of us who are livestock farmers, this country, the definition of agriculture was on coffee, on tea, on banaram, Mr. Speaker, and other things that are found in central Kenya. But Mr. Speaker, we have a country. Look at the face of this country. Agriculture encompasses livestock, I'll even say fishing, add it, marine, all these activities. We need to get out of that cage, and this is part of the colonial mentality. Mr. Speaker, immediately when we got our independence, there's this paper called Sessional Paper number 10 of 1965. That paper defined agriculture as those high potential areas. Like what? Potential areas in the context of the livestock farmer in the larger Mount Kenya region. And what was available in the larger Mount Kenya region? Coffee, tea, banaram. Period. Those treasury mandarins, those in the planning ministry, stopped thinking about the face of this country. In their mind, fish was a commodity for the Luo farmer, for the Luo subsistence farmer. livestock was predominantly associated with the pastoralist communities in parts of northern Kenya and Rift Valley, Mr. Speaker. That definition must change. And this is why I'm very happy with this bill, because it brings about that definitional clarity. And I want to thank Dr. Mutunga and team for doing this. Mr. Speaker, we need also to diversify our economy. If ever you get an opportunity to go to a country like Saudi Arabia, or Israel, or Jordan, or Egypt, please just visit some of the farms. And those countries are deserts. Today, Saudi Arabia is the largest wheat producing country in the world. Actually, they are competing with Australia and the US. If you go to Israel today, the kind of dairy farming that you see here, you'll be amazed. Go to Jordan on the other side. What has happened? The country deliberately invested in technological transfer, Mr. Speaker, and in the empowerment of the ordinary farmer. Is that what we do today, Mr. Speaker? That's not what we do today. Mr. Speaker, during the colonial time, and I'm glad that my sister from Narok is here, and Honorable Adna Haji, we used to have livestock marketing division, LMD. We used to have livestock holding grounds. We used to have livestock migratory routes. And Mr. Speaker, we have had a vibrant, functioning Kenya Meat Commission. We have had, Mr. Speaker, in 1968, and this is the sad part of our history, and we must say this for the current generation and for the next generation. The newly independent Botswana sent a very high-powered agricultural extension officers to come and do a benchmarking with the Kenya Meat Commission. Mr. Speaker, today the Botswana Meat Commission provides meat to the entire EU market. The Kenya Meat Commission is still struggling, Mr. Speaker, with nothing today practically that you can mention. And you know eventually what happened? One of the products of the Kenya Meat Commission, a Kenyan, ended up being the PS for livestock in Botswana. And today, he is one of the most respected livestock farmers in Botswana. In Botswana. Mr. Speaker, isn't it the high time that we call a spade a spade? Mr. Speaker, I am a camel farmer. Is there anybody today who has an idea of any sustainable, available market for the camel farmer in Kenya? It isn't. Go to Ethiopia today. There's an established department and market for the camel farmer. Go to Somalia, Mr. Speaker, which has had serious security issues. The market is vibrant. Go to Djibouti, it's the same. Mr. Speaker, isn't it the high time that we sit down and reflect on our attempts, viable attempts, to make this country food secure? Mr. Speaker, isn't it the high time that we stop associating this giant Ministry of Livestock and Agriculture with only the coffee? I'm not in any way trying to demean the coffee and tea farmers. They are doing a superb job, but we need also to diversify our economy. We need to reach the brains of those technocrats at that particular ministry. And I'm glad that my good friend, the Honorable Kagwe, a genius product from that region, is making attempts to reach out to the other parts of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, this bill is good, it is timely, and I really want to pray that these ego-driven attempts for individual aggrandizement, Mr. Speaker, will not derail this bill, because anything that we do, there are people who think about, they personify those big things without really thinking about what benefits the ordinary people. Mr. Speaker, what we have is not a federation. What we have is not a federal state. What we have is an economic revolution. And you know it, you are a lawyer. Kenya is not a federal state. Those counties are supposed to provide linkages to, issues are supposed to trickle down from the national government all the way to the villages. But everybody wants to create a cocoon, an outfit that is completely detached from the national reality. I think it is high time that we go back and audit the August 2010 Constitution, because it's not working. It is making this country bankrupt. It has created so many Italians which have attempted to, pursue avenues that will only add value to their personal benefits. Mr. Speaker, this bill is good. I want to agree with what Honorable Dr. Ikala said. Let's also not create many overlapping and conflicting. And therefore, I support Mr. Speaker.
Thank you and well said. Oh, members, today we got another school visiting us. Order. Seated in the public gallery, at this time, are students from Masinga Girls, from Masinga constituency, Machakos County. They are welcome to our proceedings this morning. And seated in the speaker's gallery are students from Moi Girls Isinya, Kajedo East constituency, Kajedo County. They are all welcome to follow proceedings this morning. Oh, members, before I give the Honorable Emase, I would like to give the Honorable Mario 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to welcome the students that have come to the premises of Parliament to be able to learn the proceedings of this House and also to see the members of Parliament is contributing in the debate. So I would like to welcome all of them, the Moi Kitengela, the Masinga Girls, where I represent them, and I would like to welcome them to feel free to watch the debate and be able to learn something as they go home so that they can say they were in Parliament today. You are also part of the debate. You watch and go with something, and you are most welcome. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Teso South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this very important bill. Honorable Speaker, the importance of agricultural extension officers cannot be overemphasized. This bill is very timely because it's coming at a time when farmers in this country are operating in an environment devoid of the basic knowledge, training, and support that was being given by extension officers. Honorable Speaker, last year I was working with a CBO I created in my constituency, and we are trying to do some work around agribusiness. I want to tell you it was difficult to get extension officers. I had to seek the services of CALRO, because sometimes you even need to test the soil so that the farmer is advised on what crop to plant where for them to get the highest yield, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, extension officers, as I remember in the past, the days when we had extension officers, would even go to the field and do demonstration, offer demonstration services. Agriculture today is one of the most evolving sectors. It is mechanized. There are new methods and technology is being used all over across the world. We need these extension officers. But Honorable Speaker, when you look at our counties today, for some, they do not even have the extension officers. Those who are there are aging, are almost retiring. They have been phased out through natural attrition and have not been replaced. So as we speak about this bill, we must deliberately as a house make sure that enough resources have been allocated, or we've impressed upon the counties to make sure they have allocated enough resources to be able to facilitate the extension officers and to be able to recruit more extension officers. Because for even those who have a few extension officers, Honorable Speaker, they have no money for facilitation, no means of transport to be able to access the remotest areas. Most of our farmers are in the most remotest areas where even road network is very poor, Honorable Speaker. So, Honorable Speaker, as I say, this bill is coming at a time when we need it the most. Extension officers are the ones who organize the workshops, even with the administration at our chiefs areas, our assistant chiefs areas, to be able to give capacity to the farmers. Today, government is putting in a lot of money. constructing industrial parks. We have one in Busia, almost complete. We needed to have these extension officers on the ground within these areas to educate the farmers, to do advocacy, to encourage them on what plants, like in Busia, to plant the palm oil, the simsim, the groundnuts, because then we are going to complete these industrial parks, Honorable Speaker, and we shall not have the byproducts for value addition, so that we can be able to create employment opportunities. Yet we have so many young people who have graduated from the Sigalagala, from all the vocational, from the national polytechnics across the country. And they're jobless, Honorable Speaker. Yet there is a lot of potential, so we must be deliberate on this, and we must support this bill, and we must follow this particular function with resources. Otherwise, approving this bill and not giving money to operationalize it will be a cost in vain. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Member for Saku.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity.
1 minute. You know what I do when I'm presiding. I will not skip anybody. I'll follow the list the way you came. So just relax, bid your time and speak based on what time you came. Go ahead.
Give me the mic. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I agree with you. People must bid their time. And thank you for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this very important bill. I want to share an experience with the House. A few weeks ago, I visited Yatta in Machakos, and I met a gentleman called Bishop Masika of Sitam Church. And very interesting, he had this scientific approach to food production where he concentrates on 1 acre as the basic unit area for maximum food production. And in our discussion, what he told me has really been imprinted in my mind. And he said this: there are no dry lands, there are only dry mines. And I think that is real and really poignant. Honorable Speaker, agriculture contributes 22 to 24% to our GDP. Of this, between 8 and 9% is contributed by livestock. This is how important agriculture is to this country, and how important is livestock in food production. And I really want to share what Honorable Kenyan just said before me, that many years ago, at the beginning of the Republic of Kenya, there are many things we were getting right, particularly in the area of livestock. For those of us who come from the livestock producing areas, of having the LMD, the Livestock Marketing Board, the extension officers, the range management officers, everything that contributed to significant production in the livestock sector. Honorable Speaker, although agriculture remains the backbone of our economy, many think that the soft industries are the ones that are driving our economy. But that is far from the truth. All these other sectors of our economy, agriculture remains the anchor. Walk around Nairobi, go to Mombasa, go to major cities. There's the feeling that the service industry is what runs our economy. And I don't believe that is true. Those service industry exist as a result of our effort in agriculture. And that is why this bill is really significant. And it must be a milestone in our legislation as legislators of the 13th Parliament. And we must put our names on paper. Honorable Speaker, agriculture officers are the frontline scientists. Wherever you find extension officers are active, it doesn't matter whether they are in livestock or agriculture. Actually, you will see significant improvement in food production, involvement of farmers, motivation, and they are able to identify even diseases much faster. And even the fall in food production within a particular area, the extension officers are quickly able to tell that it is because of using this or that fertilizer or because of this or that insects that are destroying that particular crop. We are also aware that in the olden days, agriculture officers were able to come up with pilot schemes, animal vaccination centers, so that they are able to help in fighting diseases, but at the same time in helping in food production. In this particular bill, what I really want to request the sponsor is to quickly identify the baseline between what is the role of the national government in this particular bill and what is the role of the county. We cannot be saying the county is also part of it and the national government is part of it. Then we pass a law that nobody is responsible in terms of policy or implementation. In that case, we are constituting boards and we are giving people CEO jobs in vain. We cannot be wasting public resources when we are seeing it right in front of our eyes. Honorable Speaker, with the problem of global warming and climate change, are we keeping up with the tide? This country depends on agriculture for a greater part of its economy. And looking at things around us, and Professor Mathari Wangai once said, when things around you are dying, then just know you'll be the next. And that is the effect of climate change and global warming. We are among the countries in the world of the South that are likely to be affected so much, with long droughts, with floods, with short, heavy rains, that farmers do not even have time to plant. For that reason, we must come up with clever strategies so that this country, for posterity, will not suffer. Or generations that will come after us must enjoy their lives and feel proud to live in this great country. Finally, Honorable Speaker, this issue of boats. A few months ago, we as the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group, we requested the formation of livestock marketing board. To date, although it has been gazetted, it is not functioning. Livestock contributes almost, as I said before, 8 to 10% to our economy. And that cannot be just wasted away by lack of decision, by lack of operationalization, and by lack of people making the right decision at the right time. For that reason, I support this bill. And what I think is we must identify who does what so that the counties and the national government should not be competing in the same space, or using the same resources at the same time for doing the same job. That I call duplication. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the time.
Well said. Remember for Narok South. Narok North, I'm sorry. The Honorable Pareo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to support this bill. This is a very important bill because it involves farmers. And agriculture and livestock are the backbone of our economy today in this country. Because most of our people depend on agriculture and livestock to earn money to take care of their families. And therefore, there is need for us to support the extension officers who form the link between the farmers and the new technology that is there to improve farming and to improve yields that people get so that they can make money. Agriculture is a devolved function. And I'm sorry to say that the county governments have no resources and are not able to run these services the way it's supposed to be. I thank God that education was not devolved, because already the sectors that were devolved have a problem, because we have a problem in agriculture, we also have a problem in agriculture, and we also have a problem in health. And these sectors are directly involved with our people. But for this one, I think there is need for the extension officers to be supported. Because with the new technology that is coming up to improve our agriculture, then we need people who understand and who can help our local people at the ground there so that they can also improve the way they do agriculture. And for that reason, I think it is important for the extension officers to be given licenses and also to be supported. They also need to be supported so that they can go around as we used to have in our old days, where people depended on the extension officers so that our soil can be tested, so that we don't go growing what cannot do well in our farms. For that reason, I support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Member for Busia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support this bill because time has passed when we used to do things haphazardly and just gazing without upping our game in increasing productivity, because also the population keeps increasing, and also the pesticides that have been there and other knowledge that farmers have been applying. I think the enemy of the crop and livestock has also been clever enough to keep changing to survive on the crop and livestock. So the extension officers that we know, usually you can find one in a very big location. We do not have enough of these officers to support the farmers or be there on time to adequately give the appropriate advice if anything befalls the farmers. The extension officers are not trained oftenly, and they actually lack funding to make them reach every farmer. So most of the time they lack even how to access some interior places where we really have indigenous rooted agriculturalists, real farmers who don't even think of white collar jobs, but depend 100% on agriculture. And the technology has changed in advance, where if you don't train these officers, even if they were to reach the farmers, they will reach there, but just have a normal tete-a-tete instead of giving the know-how, the skills that are needed to these farmers. So to effectively support farmers, we need to take this section seriously as a nation and give adequate funding to this section, because when I was young, I was told agriculture is the backbone of our nation. So how can it be a backbone and it is weak itself? It means we cannot feed all our people and also supply, because if it is the backbone, then it should bring in foreign exchange as well. So I support this bill fully, and it was long overdue.
Thank you. Member for Mandela West. Is Mandela West?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support this motion. Extension officers are key to our farming systems. I got the opportunity of working as an extension officer for a very long time. And during the olden days, when food production was adequate, it was because the extension officers were in place, farmers were being guided properly. We used to have something called training and visit. The extension officers, after 14 days, are brought together somewhere. They are trained with all the new technologies. They are equipped with all the new equipments that are required. And then the next 14 days, they go out there to train the farmers from farm to farm. That is just like a school, farmer school, where the extension officers are the teachers. In cases whereby, like now, the extension officers are neither not there, or they are just too few, and they are demoralized so much that even the few that are there are almost doing nothing. It means that farmers are like students in a classroom that is in their farm with no teacher. What do you expect? What performance do you expect? Students who are in a class throughout the year, come end of the year for exam, definitely those students who have never seen a teacher will not perform the way it is required. This is exactly the same for the farmers. Farmers are there doing their business as usual, the way they used to do generations after generations. This day and time, there is a lot of new technology whereby the farmers need to be updated by the extension officers. It is unfortunate that since, I think, the devolution, the extension service has not been given priority as it is required. For us to be food secure, for us to have adequate food to feed ourselves, we must practice the current farming practices. Otherwise, with population increase, with more mouths to feed, and if our extension services is not there, and the farmers continue to do their farming the way they used to do many years ago, you do not, with climate change, you do not expect any adequate food production in the country. And a country where the citizens are hungry is the same as slavery. Because when the citizens are hungry, they can do anything to go out there, try to feed themselves, even by sabotaging the country itself. Or they migrate out of wherever they are, and that is a loss of labor. And therefore, extension services must be given the priority it requires.
And these days, there are a lot of people who are not qualified because there are no checks and balances. They go out there because of the vacuum of lack of extension officers. They go out there, pretend that they are qualified extension officers, and they do great messes in the farms to an extent whereby farmers are misled because they think these are people who are knowledgeable and who are bringing them extension service. They listen to them, they mess up, and ultimately their food production becomes nil. This is why this bill is very important, because whoever calls himself or herself an extension officer must be certified, must be qualified, and must have checks and balances so that we don't have quacks trying to manipulate our farmers and hence interfering with our productivity in the country. We have a lot of educated young men in the field of agriculture, in the field of livestock, in the field of fisheries, and in the field of other agricultural sector. But since the county governments are not prioritizing the extension services, and agriculture has been devolved, and then this is now where the situation is going from bad to worse every year. So this bill, I think we should pass it as quickly as possible and make sure that it is enforced. That people who call themselves extension workers must be qualified people, must be people with passionate, learned, so that they can help the farmers. You remember recently the type of fertilizers that were brought by some crooks in this country. Fertilizers, which is just, the bag shows it is fertilizer, but the content is not fertilizer at all. If we would have effective extension officers in the field, in the port of entry, on transit, that could not have happened. Because of that vacuum of lack of extension officers, because of not prioritizing extension officers, that is why such messes do occur. With these few remarks, I support and we want this bill to be passed as quickly as possible and implemented to the latter. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is member for Nambale, then Omulanya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak on this bill. Mr. Speaker, this is one bill that, as members of this House, we need to expedite its legislation so that we can enact it into law. Mr. Speaker, as it has been said, agriculture is the backbone of our economy. And if we improve agriculture, definitely we're improving our economy. Mr. Speaker, for a very long time, farmers in this nation have been left on their own. The government has tried even to subsidize fertilizer, but the question that you ask yourself, as we subsidize and supply this fertilizer, do we have enough officers trained to go and advise the farmers from various areas the best fertilizer applicable to their farms? The answer is no. Because there's no legislation and policy. And Mr. Speaker, on that, I'm exactly thrilled to have a bill that seeks to introduce an agricultural and livestock service policy, which is very key, so that our farmers can have a fallback in terms of seeking advice, whether on crops or livestock. Mr. Speaker, although agriculture is a devolved function, there is great need for the two levels of government to coordinate so that we support the farmers. Because when we leave it to the county governments alone, they may not effectively carry out the services that are required so that our farmers can be properly served. And Mr. Speaker, I'm reading at section 3. The bill seeks to foster coordination and collaboration in extension services, research by national government, county government, non-government organization, learning institutions, research bodies, and other non-state actors. And Mr. Speaker, this is where you find that because of the vacuum that has been existing, you find that there are so many non-government organizations that have been occupying it, supplying various crops and encouraging farmers to plant them without any proper research, providing dairy cattle to farmers. But once a dairy farmer has been given a dairy cattle, there is no veterinary service that this particular farmer will resort to. So you find that most farmers have been resorting to even getting quacks to come and treat their animals, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, you look at Section 4 that establishes the National Extension Services Policy. It's very extensive and far-reaching in terms of capacity development of these particular services. You know, we know that, Mr. Speaker, there are emerging issues in every sector. And even agriculture, we have had crops that you find that farmers are complaining that this particular year, crops have failed. Not because we did not have sufficient rain or they did not apply enough fertilizer, but because maybe there was no research, soil sampling done in their farms to advise farmers on which particular seeds they are supposed to plant in that particular region. So there is no guidance to our farmers. They have been left on their own so that they have just been, every farmer come planting season, you find a farmer just approaches an agrovet, buys the seeds, proceed to the farm without proper advice, knowing what he's supposed to plant. And Mr. Speaker, you know that even in these careers that we have, you realize that this continuous career development, even in these agricultural services, we need to have these agricultural extension services providers that are employed. We have a periodic career advancement so that they research on the emerging issues, the new diseases that can affect the crops, the new diseases that are affecting the animals. So that if we have the way under Section 4 to provide that after every 5 years, the government and the county governments are going to look at the agriculture and livestock policy and reevaluate emerging issues and what is supposed to be done to the farmers. So, Mr. Speaker, in my own analysis, this is a very, very important bill. It is very late for us, that it has come very late. So, of course, you consider from the late 80s and early 90s, the government was properly advising farmers on what's supposed to be done, emerging issues, and also crops to be planted in various regions. Right now, we have a clarion call for farmers in Western to plant coffee. But the question is, after we supply them with seedlings, who will advise farmers on the next step so that they can care for this particular crop and get a benefit out of it? So, Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I fully support this bill and encourage my colleagues so that we expedite this particular motion so that we enact it into law. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well said. Member for Kisumu East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, when I was young, and that was some time ago, I'm now 71 years old, there were agricultural extension officers. As much as I understand the basis of this bill, I do not understand why we need to reinvent the wheel. They were there. This bill is just coming up with another board with all their expenses and other things to come up and put together a health policy, agricultural policy statement. And if you look at the membership of that board, we have the chairman who's appointed by the CS, principal secretary, etc., etc., etc. And I don't know why this board needs to be there, why, and it cannot be a department of the Ministry of Agriculture, and it should be the job of the Ministry of Agriculture to put forward a policy document like the Ministry of Health does. I have been involved with the Ministry of Health, And we have done the policy, our draft document strategy papers for the 5 years. I don't see why this should be done. I wonder why, what was the logic from the Senate to go through this and to reinvent the wheel. Mr. Chair, Buona Speaker, sir, agriculture is a pillar of the country. And we must, if we don't have that, and we do not develop that, we are like a three-legged stool. One of them is not working. Now, I've been, and as my brother mentioned earlier, Mishmiwa from Wajir, Adan, even in Saudi Arabia, in the middle of the deserts, they have started doing this. Now, I'm getting concerned why we want to now get something with the national government, with the county government, to marry them together. The UHC, the health, is a classic example of the way this thing went wrong. Why do you want to do it again? I see no reason for this. We were in one of our seeds, Mr. Speaker, sir, were one of the best in Africa. We had the best agriculture research on seeds. Now we have misused that. We had the Kenya Seed Company and others, and they've now most of these guys, there's one called Western Seed, I know them very well, and they're now going to Zambia and developing seed there. We had the capacity under the colonial times and even under the first 20 years or 30 years. We had the capacity to develop the best maize seed in Africa. And we are going now to other places. Now we want a research. For research of what? We have no need to research. We know where we are going. We don't need these so-called white-collar workers coming in with their research. They need to sit down, roll their collars, roll their sleeves up, and come up with a policy. Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm sorry I call you chair. I'm very sorry, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is not what we want. Not another board. As much as I would like to support some of the thoughts that have been given, I actually oppose this whole proposal. Mr. Speaker, sir, livestock also covers fish. And that has been a big problem. Now we are spending so much money. I remember some time ago we spent how many billion counting the fish in the Indian Ocean. Nothing happened of that. Now we are going to open up piers here and there, and we have not seen how we're developing the fish industry in the Lake Victoria is one of the most polluted lakes. So we have a problem. How is this extension services bill going to help us? Namthoi, where I represent Kisumu East, is one of the bread baskets, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I think you know, used to be. But it has been shot down. The extension workers are not able to, don't go there. The county government has no interest in these things, or they have no money. Previously, when I was in Kisumu, sir, even as the mayor, next to the DC's office was the county extension workers. And they used to go along, and I remember that we did some dairy cattle promotion in Kajulu, and they were very much working with us. The problem that we have, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the fact that we are always keen to come up with a board, always keen to come up with a committee, always keen to do something else, but not keen to do this. Now, this is the duty and responsibility, Mr. Speaker, of the Ministry of Agriculture solely and fully. Now, we had our president was previously the Minister of Agriculture, and I think he did a good job when he was there. And I think this is a very important issue that we need to work on. Then, Mr. Speaker, another issue that comes to my mind is the issue of irrigation. Mr. Speaker, sir, this country is saddled with a pre-colonial agreement on the Nile Treaty. As much as we want, and we have when in Kisumu, in my constituency, in my county, we get flooded. And then we come into a drought period. And when we want to start saving our water, and we are told the Nile Treaty does not allow us to dam water. The issue is something that we need to deal with, and when we talk about it, we are told, oh, no, this is the national issue. Now, we have also got a number of farmers, Mr. Speaker, sir, who went ahead and got greenhouses. And if you go in my constituency, sir, it's a shame to see some of those greenhouses are rotting. And because the farmer does not understand anymore what's happening. There was a company here, I used to go there, they were the extension workers, but they wanted to be paid. And of course, it did not work. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kisumu, we had peanuts, we had rice, we have cotton, we have sugar. Surely, we are one of the best rice and cotton in the country. Now, what extension workers do we need? The extension workers we need are the ones who are there, and they need to be reappointed. So I would suggest that this bill, which I do not support, should only refer to the issue of national government. I, Mr. Speaker, was part and parcel of the CKRC, the Constitution of Kenya Review Committee. We made a mistake. On health, we made a mistake on agriculture. We should not have given it to the government, totally to the county governments in that manner. Even right now, as I speak, we have problems with the UHC. When we are now talking about combining the national government with the county government, look at what happened to the USC. The universal healthcare workers who were here yesterday and have been coming every day. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have industrial parks. There's one not far away from you, sir, in Siaya. 700 or 800 million shillings has been, or nearly a billion shillings is there, and the thing is in the middle of nowhere, doing nothing. I don't know whether it's finished or not. Even if you can go and use that area to farm, use that area to, we don't need to research some of these things that we know. How can you research something that you know so well about? And I think that's where we are going wrong. And Mr. Speaker, as I now close, I'm nearly to close. Mr. Speaker, sir, I oppose this whole thing. You know, in the paddy rice in Kenya, in Kisumu, sir, the paddy rice is being taken by Ugandans. They're coming to Kisumu and taking our paddy rice. I thank you very much, sir. And Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity of speaking. I oppose, strongly oppose.
Thank you. Member for Keyo North.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion because, Mr. Speaker, as a country, we are very loud and very confident that agriculture is a backbone of our economy. But, Mr. Speaker, there are so many things that is taking us as a country, that is making us as a country to lag behind, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, lack of a vibrant extension officers has made our country, has made our farmers to end up getting or harvesting low producers of low quality animals that cannot meet the standards, that is not even attractive to the market, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, quality farm produce and also rearing of good animals can only be achieved by our farmers through having a continuous trainings. And having a vibrant or active extension officers can make our farmers adopt modern technologies that in the long run will help our country to be food sustainable and also in terms of foreign exchange. Mr. Speaker, we have so many programs that is being undertaken by government. Many a times, government is distributing seedlings, avocado, coffee, but the transaction ends there. The ministry of the government only intends to supply seedlings. Then after that, there's no one who is making follow-up because we don't have extension officers that will make a follow-up to ensure that farmers are planting these seeds in the right procedure, following all instructions that in turn it will give value for money. Number two, Mr. Speaker, is the semen. We are saying that we want to improve breeds of our animals. But who is this where is this expert that will educate our farmer to ensure that at least all the necessary steps is being followed, so that in the long run, all the semen's that is being distributed by county government is in the long run achieving the intended purpose. Mr. Speaker, the government of Kenya, the Kenya Kwanza government, started a very noble thing of distributing subsidized fertilizer. But it is also high time to review whether the fertilizers that are being given to farmers are really yielding the results that we intend to get. Because we are putting in a lot of efforts in making sure that we inject farm inputs, but we have not sat down and see whether we are achieving what we want as a country. Government is building industrial parks. Where are those subsidies? Where are those producers that will be used to store the produce that the farmers are supplying? So, Mr. Speaker, this issue of having extension officers to the grassroots level is very noble, and I am sure that it will help our farmers and as a country to achieve our goal of making sure that our country is food secure, and also having food so that our Kenyans cannot be facing, our public will not be facing starvations. Mr. Speaker, we must also see and focus on how, because all of us know that agriculture is a devolved function, but we have so many gaps in between here, because county government seems not to care a lot about what is going on after distributing seedlings and all manner of things. So I think it's high time also for the Ministry of Agriculture to have a direct link with our agricultural staff at the county level, so that our farmers can get all the necessary support and trainings which will help them achieve the goals in the agricultural sector. With those many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to support and say that this is timely because as a country we have all the necessary infrastructures, the industrial parks, airports. Like in Eldoret, we have a big international airport, but where the produce that needs to be supplied to international markets, very few, or even not available. So this focus will help us as a country to achieve the agricultural goals. With all many remarks, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this time. Thank you. I support.
Well said. Member for Nyamira.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity so that I can also talk on the Agricultural and Livestock Extension Service Bill. Honorable Speaker, this is a very progressive bill which is before us as Parliament, because we as Kenyans, we understand that agriculture in our country is the backbone of our economy. And Mr. Speaker, when we talk about the backbone, when it is stable, when it is healthy, it makes the body to have its movement to wherever that the body may want to move to. Honorable Speaker, agriculture as the backbone of our country, if well taken care of, will make the economy of our country to prosper and will make the Kenyan citizens to have the best life that they may want to have, because the population will be fed and the population will be healthy from the agricultural products that we get from our farms. And for us to get the best agricultural products from our farms, we seriously need extension officers who go out and train our farmers on the type of crops which are needed in various types of soils, on the types of agricultural animals which can be reared which can be reared in certain climates. And as we understand, we have climate change, which is quite different from that which we had from the early 80s and the early 90s. And because there is change in climate, we also need to change our tactic by having extension officers who are well trained, who can be able to know the type of climate and what is needed where. Honorable Speaker, this bill is talking about the county government and the national government. This time around, we do not want to have any gap because we know agriculture is devolved, it is in counties, and if we give part of the work to the national government and part to the county government, then actually finally we are not going to succeed. So I want to urge the member who has brought this bill to make sure that there is no gap, that as we get the agricultural extension officers and as the agriculture is devolved, that there is enough money, there is enough resources which are given to counties so that the agriculture sector within our counties is well catered for, so that our farmers are able to access, if it is fertilizer, if it is the type of animals which maybe we may want to be reared in certain counties, they are able to be accessed by giving enough resources to the counties, which can also be extended to the farmers. And once they have been given, then we shall need the extension officers to be giving the new technology which has come up on how each animal or on how each agricultural product which we have is supposed to be taken care of in our farms. So I want to support this bill, and I know once it goes through, our counties are going to get resources which will make sure that enough is going to farmers, and the farmers are going to get enough food for our country, because a nation which is fed well will prosper and it will make the economy to grow. So, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Thank you. Honourable members, before I give the next member to contribute, join me in welcoming students from Waithaka Boys, from Kiharu constituency, Murang'a County, and students from St. Joseph Matiku, Kibwezi West constituency, Makueni County. They are welcome to follow our proceeding this afternoon and to learn from what goes on in Parliament. The next speaker here would be the member for Embakasi South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute towards this very, very important bill. The Senate bill on agriculture and livestock extension services and officers bill 2022. I might start by saying that the bill is long overdue, having been received last year, 2024 here. It's long overdue, and now that it's here, we must make sure that we pass it. So I stand to support the Senate bill on extension officers and extension services. Actually, looking back a few years ago, the country used to have extension officers who were able to support the farmers so as to be able to produce quality products. Kenya was one of the top countries in production of coffee. Coffee and tea used to be amongst the top earners of forex or foreign exchange for the country. But nowadays, agriculture has dwindled down as much as it produces 22% of our GDP. it is not well supported by providing enough knowledge and skills to the farmers. There is need to equip the farmers with enough information and enough equipment and technology so that they are able to produce the best. There is need to mechanize and improve technology to the point of even using such items as drones. Technology has improved so much. We can start, in other countries, people are using drones to spray. There is need to equip the farmers with enough information, and these extension officers will be able to do the same. The types of cows that we are rearing, majority of them are the small, short zebu cows that you'll find in most of the country. And yet, we have such good breeds that a farmer can acquire at almost the same price. Breeds like Saiwal, breeds like Brahman, breeds like Borana, that a farmer can, a fully grown bull from the Zebu breed will earn you 35,000, 40,000. A fully grown Borana will earn you 160,000, 170,000 shillings. But due to lack of information, due to lack of connectivity, due to the failure of us devolving the knowledge that is available, our farmers are still keeping the small cows. There is no place in the country that we cannot grow anything we want. There is no place in the country that we cannot keep livestock. Anywhere in the country, there are deserts like Dubai, Qatar, that are producing in greenhouses excellent. In fact, like Qatar Airline, all the food is grown in a farm in Qatar, a desert. You can go to Garissa and Moyale and Mandera and produce or even keep. We are able to keep camels there. They just need a little bit of support. There is enough feed. Nowadays, in terms of fodder, there is excellent feed. The likes of Junkao. A Junkao napier is a type of a napier grass. A Junkao napier will grow to about 6 meters tall. And yet, once you cut it, you're able. So we're able to feed our animals with just a small acre. You can keep 20 cows with this 1 acre with some of the fodders that is readily available. So this issue of extension officers is very, very important. I fully support it. Nowadays, when you go to the agrovets in the rural area, they don't have the knowledge. They will, if your cow is unwell or if your animal is unwell, they will, even if you describe to them, they are unable to give you the proper prescription for your cow. But with the extension officers, we are able to train the farmers that if this happens, this is what you do. I highly recommend that we make sure that we have an extension officers per ward. That's only 1,450 wards. That's only 1,450 extension officers. And we can be one of the best. We are still importing eggs from our neighbors. We are still importing beans, maize, and onions from the other neighbor in the south. So, but with enough knowledge, we have the capacity, we have the land. And some of us are farmers in our side jobs. So we can impact this knowledge to the other farmers through the extension officers. A long time ago, a few more seconds, a long time ago, or a few 2 decades or so back, the extension officers or the Ministry of Agriculture used to organize and say, in this region, grow cotton. And it would be picked and bought and taken to the places like the former Kikomi, Raymond, etc. In this region, grow this item. The extension officers will be able to advise our farmers that yes, plant avocado, but try to plant this type of avocado that you'll be able to harvest at this time, which our largest competitor, it's known, the largest competitor of any country in the world is Peru, that floods with avocado. So, but if you plant this type of avocado, you'll be able to harvest it at this time when the Peru's avocado is not in the market, and you'll get premium market price. So this extension, this bill is long overdue. I fully support it. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Member for Turkana East.
Thank you, Speaker, for giving me this chance to add my voice to this important bill. Mr. Speaker, the work of the extension officers, if we can flash back to the time of Nyayo era, it used to be one of the services the government was putting more effort because of what these officers they were giving to our farmers, both at the national level and all the way to the villages. During those days, we used to have these officers in every village or a division location and of livestock because of drought. But during those days, these officers, they can give our farmers early warning alerts. And by doing so, our farmers can strategize on ways of saving their livestock. But nowadays, they are just caught up. And by doing so, they lose a lot of livestock because they are not prepared for what is coming. Mr. Speaker, our farmers need education, or they need to know new techniques of farming. But because of these services, because of the lack of these services, they can't get these new technologies. You find that in this house, we do allocate more monies to hire teachers for our schools so that our kids can get education. It is the same way we need to do to our farmers because they need to be educated. They need to get new technologies so that they can plant the right crops at the right time. And by doing so, we can get enough food and we avoid the issue of giving our people the relief food, as what we used to do in some parts of this country like Northeastern and Turkana, Samburu, and all that. If these services can be taken closer to our people, these people, they can do a lot of work and they can produce food in all the sectors of agriculture, livestock, fishing, but because they lack these services, they can't produce. And as the world also changes, climate change is coming in. And these people, they don't know how to go around with this issue of climate change because they lack this kind of services. In our colleges, there are a lot of students who normally finish these courses in agriculture, but they are just loitering in the villages with all that knowledge. So we need to support this bill so that we can have these officers being hired so that they can provide services to our people, our farmers. And by doing so, we can continue using that or talking the issue of the agriculture being the backbone of this country, which it has died in the recent years since devolution came. And when the agriculture was developed to counties, they think it has just died. So we need to strengthen this bill. We need to come up with the right ways of these services being handled by the county government and the national government, so that we cannot have any gap whereby it will bring confusion between the two levels of government, and by doing so, it affects these services being taken to our farmers. Mr. Speaker, if you can go, nowadays, if you can go around to the divisions, because that's the level where these officers used to be. Nowadays, we have wards. For example, in my county where I come from, we have that wards. If we can have at least each ward having an officer, extension officer, Mr. Speaker, our farmers can get more knowledge and they can improve on their way of farming. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I support.
Member for Tinderet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to support this bill, and I want to thank the Chair Agriculture in the sense that this is a bill that will actually transform this country. Agricultural extension officers are actually the backbone of most agricultural economies worldwide, and they have known to increase food production, foreign exchange income for nations, and more importantly, the income of those involved in agricultural activities. Mr. Speaker, agricultural extension officer, for example, in livestock keeping, dairy, farming, agricultural crop production, has a lot of activities, is very important in the following ways. One, he organizes the farmers on modern farming technology, for modern scientific ways of controlling pests, and more importantly, engaging in proper seeds propagation. All this, the farmer is going to get more income, and by extension also, Honorable Speaker, the country will get the much needed food. And the farmers will also get income for themselves to run their daily costs, pay school fees, and do all those things. Three, the country will save on foreign exchange and not import food. I think, Honorable Speaker, in this House, we know that Kenya in the 70s and 60s was the bread basket of the region. And if you go back and look at what was going on then, the extension worker was almost in every location. I grew up seeing extension officers with very good khaki uniform. And they were in across the villages. They were telling farmers on how to plant their seed well. They were actually organizing farmers into cooperatives. And in these cooperatives, farmers were able to save. They were able to now put themselves and market their crop very well. It is at this time and age that we've forgotten what we saw when we were growing up, that we really need to make it part and parcel of life. Honorable Speaker, every other time I've seen the ministry trying to reinvent the wheel. You can't reinvent the wheel in this sector without the extension officer. The extension officer is the nerve center that is going to transform this country. We can be sugar exporters, we can be coffee exporters, we can be tea exporters, we can do marvelous things. Kenya has grown over the years in terms of agricultural production. And I want to look at a case of meat. In the 60s and 70s, many countries benchmarked with this country, and we were top. But today we are doing very poorly because the extension officers have been relegated. They have been neglected. They are no longer being the core of Ministry of Agriculture. I want to ask this House to make sure that all the county governments, even the national government, has to make it mandatory that all agricultural areas in this country, and agriculture is the backbone of this country. Lastly, If you go to the ASAL areas, Honorable Speaker, in ASAL areas, the extension workers would act as early warning systems. In case we have seen there'll be a problem with rain, they'll be able to warn the farmers early to sell their livestock. They'll be able to tell them when to stock the grass, how to make sure that we cope up with the issue of water shortage and many others. So, Honorable Mutunga, I want to say that let this issue be an issue that we put it into practice as soon as possible. Thank you so much. I support.
What's the report, Honorable Waya? Honorable Speaker, looking at the mood of the House, I would like to request that the mover be called to reply.
How do you get the mood of the House?
I can
Is
look
it the mood
at,
of the House that we call him not to reply?
Everybody is supporting and everybody is the same line, and therefore it is okay, Honorable Speaker, that the mover be called to reply so that we can close debate on this motion.
Honorable Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to reply on this very important motion. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank all my colleagues for supporting, 100% of them supporting this motion. It shows the importance of extension in this particular country as an enabler towards agricultural production and agricultural productivity. Honorable Speaker, there are a few issues that have come up that I would like to highlight. We, as a committee, have looked at the composition of the board. And first of all, we have looked at the structure of the board itself. We are not creating a new institution because we are very much aware that the government is merging institutions to reduce on the number of semi-autonomous government agencies. So we have looked at an existing institution called the Agriculture and Information and Resource Center and transformed the Agriculture and Information and Resource Center into the National Agricultural Information Repository. This is the center that is going to be linking up with all the sources of information, all sources of technologies, innovations, and management practices that will be now channeled back to the counties for purposes of releasing back to the farmers. We've also looked at the area of diagnosis and also taken into account the technological advancement that the country is at the moment, in the sense that farmers can be able to take a photograph of what they are seeing on their farm. They can relay this photograph to a county outfit that we have renamed in a diagnostic center. So from the diagnostic center, it's possible to go to the repository, and the repository can get the information and to relay it back to the farmer. So we have solved that particular problem. On the other hand, Honorable Speaker, we have also looked at the relationships, how we can keep the distances short, and the channel was very clear in terms of making sure that the agricultural information is relayed to the farmer in the appropriate, form. Honorable Speaker, we've also looked at the livestock issues in terms of how do we cause an improvement of livestock through extension again, taking into account that we have we have the KAGRIC, the Kenya Animal Genetic Research Center, which is mandated to produce semen and then distribute across the country. And therefore, it can impact on our livestock sector in terms of reducing the maturity age of the beef animals and also improving on the productivity of the dairy animals so that we can increase on the national average. Honorable Speaker, there are very many other issues that you've looked at and that have come out during the debate. There are a few challenges that we need to focus on, even as we look at this bill as a country. The challenge of climate change. We need an appropriate messaging process. Honorable Speaker, we also need to be able to be aware of the fact that land is reducing in size. We need to be aware that we can open up any land. Israel does not have as good soils as we have, and therefore we have a great opportunity. We need to employ our young people, and agriculture has the potential. So unless we have a working extension system, that will not happen because we will not be able to message appropriately. With those very few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I wish to reply. Thank you.
It marks the end of second reading debate on the Agriculture, Livestock, Station Service Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2022, and the decision on that, for obvious reasons, will be made the next time the bill is loaded in the order paper. Honorable members, At the time now being 1:02 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, the 4th of June, 2025 at 2:30 p.m.
Of the seal, and I want us to listen to the government spokesperson when he told us initially that it was with the head of public service. I will revert to what it was first, but this is what we were told, or where we were told it resided.
Is under the head of public service. That is the law. It was passed recently because of the executioning. The role of the head of public service is to execute the orders of the president. That is why even my office is under the executive office of the president, chief of staff and the head of public service.
Okay, now stay with me here, because 2 days later, that seal moved from the office of the head of public service.
The public seal is actually under the custody of the Attorney General as per Article 9 of the Constitution. And if we look at the Office of the Attorney General Act, Clause 2 on definition of terms, it clearly states exactly that. And so therefore, this needs to go on record that the public seal is not with the head of public service, it's with the Attorney General.
And today we got confirmation, at least, from the Attorney General.
Custody of the public seal is the subject of Section 28 of the Office of the Attorney General's Act, Caps 6A of the laws of Kenya. This provision stipulates that the Attorney General shall have custody of the public seal of the Republic of Kenya. This particular provision has neither been repealed nor amended in any manner whatsoever. Accordingly, the legal custody of the public seal remains with the Attorney General, and as such, the Attorney General has and retains the in custodia legis and of the public seal, namely the legal right to control, protect, and care for the public seal under the Attorney General's charge. And I am sure that we have had no problem with the issue of the public seal, apart from what is in the papers.
Okay, so so it originally was at the AGs, then it moved to the head of public service, and then back to the AGs. Jamila, you've been on the trail of...
Since last week.
Yes, of
Nimechoka, sikuwa najua iko wapi. Where is this here? Iko wapi? Muhuri uko wapi?
Been racing around this country trying to find the seal. So over to you now. We've been told now the seal, for avoidance of doubt, is with the Office of the Attorney General. But Jamila, what is this seal that is moving from one office to another? How heavy is it? How clunky is it? Like, what is this thing?
You know, I think the first time I saw it, and maybe I'm mistaken, was in 2010 during the promulgation of the Constitution. It was there. There it is. We are seeing it there. I think this was more recently. So that is the public seal, ladies and gentlemen.
This is the thing that's causing us all this drama.
Ndio hiyo. Tunaona ina kazi yake muhimu. And I think it is important to look at the public seal as outlined in the Kenyan Constitution in Article 9, which outlines national symbols and their use. This article establishes the national symbols of Kenya, which include the national flag, bendera ya nchi, the national anthem, wimbo wa taifa, the coat of arms, and the public seal. It's considered one of the key national symbols. So can you imagine the flag? How important our flag is, how important our national anthem is, how important the coat of arms is, the public seal is there. It's the fourth one. It is used in official documentation and represents the sovereignty of the state. It is used to authenticate important documents, such as those issued by the president or government agencies. It signifies the legitimacy of the Republic of Kenya in the context of its legal and constitutional documents. As the AG has said, the AG is supposed to be the custodian of the public seal, responsible for its use and safeguarding. It's typically under the Attorney General's office. So, on the other hand, remember the first day last week when we were told by the government spokesperson that it's been moved to the head of public service, and saying there was a law that was passed, a law he could not explain when it was passed, he could not explain when public participation was done. He said sometime last year, he couldn't really explain where it was, and he called the head of the public service as public servant number 1, and really went on and on about why it should be there. So the question to ask is, does the office of the head of the public service, is it mentioned in any way in the Kenyan Constitution? No, it is not, as compared to the public seal, which is one of the national symbols. Of course, the existence of that office is legally recognized because of the roles, and it's tied to government structures. As you know, the head of the public service is appointed by the president so that he can help in ensuring effective coordination and all that implementation. But ofisi ya mkuu wa utumishi wa umma haiko kwenye katiba. Head of the public seal is in the katiba, and the fact that it's supposed to be in the office of the Attorney General iko kwa katiba. So my question is this: where did this all come from? It just couldn't have come out of a vacuum, that the government spokesman stands up and says it's been moved to the head of the public service. And I think it's important that we listen to that.
Him. Yes,
defending
that. Yeah. But yeah.
And that is misinformation, disinformation that came as a result of a process in Parliament. Then, of course, it was deleted. It was a proposal. It never went through. And we want to tell, media houses to verify their facts before they publish that, because I think that is what created the momentum. So, as a government spokesman, we withdraw and clarify that one, so that then we get the position right. And
ule mtego wa waliomo na wasokwemo. Media wamejipata hapa kwa mtego ambao hawakuwemo, because then the first day when it was said that imepelekwa kule, we reported the same. So the gentleman comes back, I think 3 days later. This is the third statement, I think, in the same week, on the same, and he's saying, ile sheria ilikuwa nasema haikuwepo, lakini ninyi wanahabari ndio mliokosea.
Do you know what's interesting was, it was his own categorical statement that it was at the head of public service. And he also gave reasons why, and people whom he said were resisting this move of this seal from the Attorney General to the head of public service, because he said there were people who are not
they were corrupt.
Change,
and they said they were corrupt
who were corrupt, and that the head of public service is trying to streamline operations of government, and that's why it has moved there. For me, what is interesting is that an office that is supposed to provide clarity on how government works, that is supposed to explain what's happening in government, the decisions that are being made, to bridge that divide of communication between this is who we are as government, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, has to put us in a tailspin. But then it was interesting when he said, I want to ask the media to verify their facts, because it says it was the momentum that was started by the media. It would have been interesting if he corrected the media if their reporting was faulty in the
first place. Yep.
Are we to now believe, the government spokesperson who himself says it's with the head of public service, but then says it was as a result of a process in Parliament, which of course was deleted. This is interesting that we've been taken back and forth.
He had even said there was a Hansard.
And there was a Hansard, yes, when he was asked by a reporter.
Yeah.
He said, go check out the Hansard on that. Interesting that you have confusion from an office that has been designed to specifically create clarity on what's happening in government, and there was confusion coming from the very office. I don't know.
Isaac Mwaura is,
Linus, hold on a second.
Isaac Mwaura is everything wrong that this government wants to do right. Because this is not even the first time he's made such blunders that you pause and ask, where does he get his briefs from before he shows up in public to communicate what is supposed to be messaging from the executive office of the president. And then he comes and wants to lay blame on the media. I think that first of all tells you that not even the spokesperson of the government is aware where this seal is supposed to reside. As a matter of fact, Jamila, the last time the seal was seen was in Eldoret.
Oh, when it was being as a city.
If it came to Nairobi.
Was it with the Attorney General?
No, it was with the President.
Okay.
Yes. So I think, first of all, such kind of blunders by the principal communications person tells you a lot. Because what is lacking here is clarity on where this seal is supposed